Bubbles, it's dinner time. Place him at the users table. Don't make me come get you. Alright, time to sit up. What is up, everyone, and welcome to Hello World Episode 15, Inserting a User into the Database. As with every episode, we're inserting a new feature into our Hello World website. So if there's something you want to see coded up and implemented, let me know in the comments down below. Let's get into the episode. Over the past few episodes, we have created the UI for our sign-up form. We have implemented front-end validation, and then if the front-end validation checks out, we're passing the sign-up form data to our server and validating it server-side. By the end of this video, when the user fills out the sign-up form, all the inputs are valid, and they click sign up, the user will be inserted along with all the data they filled out in the sign-up form into our database. As you see, I click sign up and a new record has been created for my Hello World user. Let's get into the code. Over the past two episodes, we have implemented our sign-up form UI, front-end validation, and then we implemented back-end validation. If you guys missed any of those episodes, go ahead and check them out in my Hello World playlist. We're going to head on over to our text editor and open up our Hello World repository. The link to GitHub will be in the description below, github.com/jstolpe/hello world. In our last episode, episode 14, we implemented our backend validation, and we left off right here in our sign-up model. This if statement right here is where we will fall if all the form data is validated on the front end as well as the back end. And here is where we want to insert our user into our database. Over in PHP-MyAdmin, we have our Hello World database and our users table, which we also set up a few episodes back. And here's the structure for our users table. What we're going to want to do is create an array in PHP with key value pairs, and the key will be the column name, such as key value, email, username, and so on, and the value will be the value we want to insert for that column. We'll call this variable new user data, and we want to populate this array with data we got from our form. First input was the email, and that is coming through our form data, form elements, email. Then we have to make sure we get the value of the email. If it's made it this far, the email value has been validated by front and back end, and so we can go ahead and insert it into our database. Then we have our username, our first name, last name, and our password. And these keys have to match the names of the columns in the database we want them mapped to, and then their corresponding values. With our new user data set up, we're going to insert that into the database. Over in our users model, we're going to create an insert user function, and we're going to pass along our new user data array. Open up our users model and define our new function called insert user. Takes in an array of info, which is the new user's info we're passing in. So now we're going to set up our insert data that will be going into our database. The keys here have to match the column names in the database. First column in our database is our key value. And for this, we're going to generate just a random key value for each user. That way each user has a unique key value. Over in our Hello World model, we're going to define a way to get a random key value for a user. Get new key. And it's going to take in a length. So over here, our key value will now be this Hello World model, get new key. We're going to define a constant up here and use that for the default length. Call this default key value length, and we'll set this to 15. That way, if we ever need to change our default key value length in the future, we don't have to update it in a million places. We just have to update this constant right here. Now we'll pass in that length. Hello World model, default key value length. And we're going to define a string here to a for loop, and the loop will iterate as many times as the length that we've passed in. While 0 is less than the length that we pass in, we will increment. Then we're going to do a string shuffle on the current time and do an MD5 hash on that. We're going to return a substring. Once again, we're going to shuffle the final string, and the return substring gets a length of whatever we pass in our case, 15. Then we have our email. We're going to go ahead and do a trim on this. That will get rid of any extra white space. Same for our username, first name, last name, and password. Now, at this point, the password is still plain text. We don't want to store it as plain text. That's bad. So we're going to hash it. We're going to do a password hash. That's the built-in hashing function. And we're going to do password default. Password default constant is also built in, and it's telling our password hash to use bcrypt for hashing our password. And that is our insert data array. Now we have to insert the data. So we're going to specify our table name to be the users table, which is defined right up here in our constant, users. And then we're going to return our run insert data function, which returns the ID of the row that was inserted. And into our run insert function, we're going to pass our insert data. So we want this data right here inserted into our users table, and this function will take care of that for us. Back in our signup model, we now have a new user ID. Now, to verify it got inserted, we're going to go ahead and grab our get user with column value function, and we're going to grab that user from the database. New user equals this user's model get user with column value. The column we're going to get that user with is the ID, column name ID, and the user's ID is our new user's ID. Over in our users model, we need to create a constant for our ID, constant column name ID, and the column name in the database is just ID. Then, since we are calling our hello world get new key model, we have to make sure that we include our hello world model for use within our users model. So we're going to add a construct function here, and in this construct function, we're going to load the hello world model. Load hello world model. Now we can make that call right here to get a new key. So now we should be able to dump out our new user, and when the form is valid, we will see the new user pulled from our database. So we'll refresh our sign up page, and let's fill out the form. Now when we click sign up, the user should be inserted in the database, and we should see over here in our network tab the call that went off, the response dumps out the array we got back, which is the user that was inserted into our database. And there it is, the user that was inserted. All the data that I just filled out in our form has been inserted into our users table. Back over in PHPMyAdmin, if I refresh our users table here, there's our new user. We have our key value randomly generated, our email from the form, username, first name, last name. There's our hashed password. Never, never, never store plain text passwords in your database. And then the created column, which is automatically populated when a row is inserted into the table. And that is going to wrap up inserting a user into the database. Once the form is all valid and good to go, we have set up our new user data array here, sent that along to our users model, the insert user function, where we create our insert data array and then insert that into our database. We then verified that by dumping that out in the response, as well as checking out our database here and seeing our user row inserted into our database. And that is going to wrap up Hello World episode 15, inserting a user into the database. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see coded up next. I'll catch you later.